Captain Dongwu Li stood on the bridge of his ship, looking down at the Vorthon homeworld. 3 days had passed since he activated Terminus Protocol. The planet looked the same as before, but everything had changed. "Status report," he said to his crew. "All Vorthon military installations have been converted to civilian use," his officer reported. "Weapon factories are now producing farming equipment. Military academies have become schools for art and science. The process is complete across all 400 Vorthon worlds." Dongwu nodded, but he didn't feel happy about it. What they had done was efficient, but it troubled him deeply. On the planet below, former war leader Kethara walked through what used to be the military command center. It was now a hospital where Vorthon doctors helped injured people from across the galaxy. She felt content with this change, which disturbed her in ways she couldn't quite understand. "Kethara," called Dr. Yejin Park, who had come down to the planet to monitor the results. "How are you feeling?" "Good," Kethara replied, and she meant it. "I feel peaceful, happy, like a weight has been lifted from my shoulders." She paused. "But I also remember feeling differently before. I remember being proud of being a warrior. Now that pride seems wrong." Dr. Park nodded sadly. "That's how Terminus Protocol works. We didn't remove your memories. We changed how you feel about them. Your warrior instincts are still there, but now they make you uncomfortable instead of proud." "Did you do the right thing?" Kethara asked. "I honestly don't know," Dr. Park admitted. "We prevented a war that would have killed billions. But we did it by taking away your choice to fight." Kethara considered this. "If someone is about to jump off a cliff and you stop them, did you take away their choice to die, or did you save their life? That's the question that keeps me awake at night." Back in space, Admiral Hansol Kim was receiving reports from across the galaxy. The effects of the Vorthon transformation were spreading far beyond the Vorthon Empire itself. "Sir," his communication officer said, "we're getting messages from 200 different species. They all want to sign peace treaties with us immediately." "Any threats?" "None, sir. Several species that were planning to fight each other have stopped their preparations. They're asking us to mediate their disputes instead." Hansol understood why. Every species in the galaxy had now seen what humans could do. They had watched the Vorthons go from aggressive warriors to peaceful citizens in a matter of hours. The message was clear. This could happen to anyone. Captain Dongwu received orders to return to Earth. When he arrived, he found the planet much the same as before. People walked in parks, children played in schools, artists created beautiful things, but now everyone knew that this peace was protected by something much darker. He met with Admiral Kim in the same crystal hall where the crisis had begun. "How do you feel about what we did?" Hansol asked. Confused, Dongwu replied honestly. "We saved lives. We prevented a war, but we also took away the Vorthon's right to choose their own path." "That's a good answer," Hansol said. "If you had said you felt completely good about it, I would have been worried about you." "What happens now?" "Now we live with what we've done. The galaxy is at peace, but it's a peace maintained by fear of us." Dr. Park joined them carrying a report. "The psychological studies are complete. The transformed Vorthons are genuinely happy. They're not pretending or hiding resentment. They actually prefer their new way of life." "Does that make it right?" Dongwu asked. "No," she said. "But it doesn't make it wrong either. That's what makes this so difficult." They were interrupted by a communication from the Galactic Council. Representatives from hundreds of species appeared on the screen, all looking nervous. "Admiral Kim," the council speaker said, "we want to establish new agreements with humanity. We propose that all conflicts between species be brought to you for resolution. You want us to be the galaxy's police force? We want you to be what you've always been, the most powerful species in the galaxy. We just want it to be official now." Hansol looked at his colleagues. This was what they had feared. By demonstrating their power, they had made themselves responsible for everyone else's problems. "We'll consider your proposal," he said diplomatically. After the transmission ended, the 3 humans sat in silence for a while. "Are we tyrants now?" Dongwu asked. "We've always been potential tyrants," Hansol replied. "The difference is that now everyone knows it." Dr. Park pulled up a file on her tablet. "I've been studying the historical data. Do you know how many wars there have been in the galaxy since we activated Terminus Protocol?"
"How many?"
0. Not just between humans and other species. Between any species. The mere possibility that we might intervene has made everyone peaceful. So we succeeded? We achieved our goal, she said carefully. Whether we succeeded depends on how you define success. 500 years later, the galaxy was still at peace. New species that joined the galactic community were told a simple story. There once was a species so good at war that they found a way to make war impossible. They were called humans, and they were why peace existed. The Vorthons had become humanity's closest allies. They maintained museums about their warrior past, not as celebration, but as a reminder of what they had chosen to leave behind. Former war leader Cathara, now very old, served as an ambassador between humans and other species. "Do you regret what happened to your people?" a young alien diplomat asked her one day. Cathara thought for a long time before answering. "I regret that it was necessary. I regret that my people's aggression forced the humans to act, but I don't regret the result. We are happier now than we ever were as warriors." "But you weren't given a choice." "No," she admitted, "but sometimes the right choice is so hard to make that someone else has to make it for you." On Earth, Captain Dongwu Li had become Admiral Li. He was much older now, with gray hair and tired eyes. He still struggled with the moral implications of what they had done centuries ago. "Do you think we were right?" a young officer asked him during a training session. "I think we were effective," he replied. "Whether we were right is a question each of you will have to answer for yourselves. Would you do it again?" Admiral Li looked out at the stars, where hundreds of species lived in peace under the protection of human power. If someone threatened this peace, if billions of lives were at stake. He paused. "Yes, I would do it again. That's what makes us human. We'll carry the burden of making the hard choices so others don't have to." The young officer looked troubled. "Doesn't that make us responsible for everyone else's lives?" "Yes," Admiral Li said quietly. "That's exactly what it makes us. And that's the heaviest burden any species can carry." In the deepest archives under Earth, Dr. Park's great-granddaughter continued to maintain the records of humanity's past. The weapons were still there, still ready, still waiting, because peace, like everything else humans built, required maintenance. And sometimes maintenance meant reminding the galaxy why peace was the better choice. The humans had learned to be gardeners instead of warriors. But they remained very good warriors just in case someone forgot why gardens were beautiful. Dr. Yejin Park walked through the long metal hallways deep under the earth. Her footsteps echoed in the empty corridors. Captain Dongwu Li followed behind her, his eyes wide as he looked around. The walls were covered with dust, but the lights still worked perfectly. "How deep are we?" Dongwu asked. 5 kilometers under Geneva," Dr. Park answered. "These tunnels go much deeper. Some sections are 10 kilometers down." They walked past huge doors made of thick metal. Each door had numbers and letters on it that Dongwu could not understand. Some doors were still sealed shut. Others stood open, showing dark rooms beyond. "What is all this?" he asked. Dr. Park stopped at a door marked Historical Archives, Level 9 access only. She pressed her hand against a scanner, and the door opened with a soft hiss. "This is where we keep the things we want to forget," she said. Inside the room, walls of screens came to life. They showed pictures, videos, and files from long ago. Dongwu saw images of space battles, burning planets, and ships he did not recognize. "The Consolidation Wars," Dr. Park said, pointing to one screen. "That was when humans first left Earth and met other species. Some of those species tried to stop us. What happened to them? They don't exist anymore." Dongwu felt cold. On another screen, he saw a beautiful blue planet being torn apart by weapons he could not understand. "The Martian Rebellion," Dr. Park continued. "When the Mars colonies tried to break away from Earth, the war lasted 6 months. Who won?" "We did. We always won." Dr. Park touched another control and more images appeared. The Titan incident, the Proxima extermination, the silent war against the Void Hunters. For 2,000 years, humans fought anyone who got in our way. Dongwu looked at a picture of his great-grandmother, Commander Su Min Lee. She was young in the photo, wearing a uniform he had never seen before. Her eyes looked hard and cold. She was involved in all of this. She designed most of it, Dr. Park said. The silent death protocols were her idea. Ways to kill without the enemy knowing they were under attack. Ways to make their own weapons turn against them. Ways to make them so afraid that they would surrender before the fighting even started. They walked deeper into the archives. Dr. Park showed him more files. More weapons, more wars that most humans had forgotten about. Why did we stop? Dongwu asked. Dr. Park was quiet for a long time. Finally, she said, because we got too good at it. She opened another file. This one showed a meeting of human military leaders from 3,000 years ago. Dongwu recognized some of the names from history books, but he had never seen these recordings before. By the year 2547, humans had fought 47 different wars against alien species, Dr. Park explained. We won every single one. But the last war was different. How? We killed an entire species in 18 hours. 60 billion beings across 200 worlds. They never even got a chance to surrender. Dongwu sat down heavily. How is that possible? Dr. Park touched more controls. The screens showed weapons that seemed impossible, ships that could appear anywhere instantly, bombs that could destroy the fabric of space itself, soldiers who could move through solid walls. We became very creative, she said quietly. Too creative. After that last war, our leaders met in secret. They decided that humans were too dangerous to keep fighting. So they made the peace accord. They made a choice. Stop fighting others or risk destroying everything. Admiral Han Sol Kim appeared in the doorway. He had been listening quietly. Dr. Park is being modest, he said. She's not just an archivist. She's the great-granddaughter of Dr. Jin A. Park, the woman who created Project Phoenix. What is Project Phoenix? Dongwu asked. Han Sol walked to a special control panel. It was covered by a clear shield with 5 hand scanners. Project Phoenix is what we built in case we ever needed to fight again, he said. But it requires all 5 members of the Terran Council to agree before we can use it. Dr. Park looked worried. Admiral, are you sure? Phoenix was designed to end wars permanently, not just win them. The Vorthans have made their choice, Han Sol replied. Now we make ours. He pressed his hand to one of the scanners. A green light appeared. Dr. Park, we need to show Captain Lee what he's really commanding. They took an elevator up to the surface and then flew to a military base near the Swiss mountains. Dongwu's ship was waiting for him, but it looked different now. The hull had opened up to show weapons he had never seen before. Engineers worked on systems that seemed impossible. Your ship was always designed for war, Han Sol explained. We just hid it very well. The cargo bay has fighter ships. The communications array can jam entire fleets. The main engines can move faster than anything else in the galaxy. Dongwu climbed aboard his ship and sat in the captain's chair. The control screen showed new options, new weapons, new abilities. It was like seeing his ship for the first time. How many ships like this do we have? He asked. All of them, Dr. Park answered. Every human ship was built this way. Cargo ships, passenger ships, research vessels, mining platforms. They all have hidden capabilities. What about our colonies? Our space stations? Han Sol smiled his cold smile. Captain, what do you think we've been building for the last 3,000 years? Art galleries and gardens? He showed Dongwu a screen that displayed human space. Every colony, every station, every mining operation was highlighted. But the screen also showed their true purposes. Weapons platforms, military bases, shipyards, supply depots. We never stopped preparing for war, Han Sol said. We just got very good at looking peaceful. A message came through on the ship's communication system. It was from the other 4 members of the Terran Council. They had all agreed to activate Project Phoenix. It's time, Dr. Park said quietly. Han Sol looked at Dongwu. Captain, you asked why we stopped fighting. Now you know. We didn't stop because we became peaceful. We stopped because we became perfect at war. So perfect that we scared ourselves. And now the Vorthans will learn what 3,000 years of hidden preparation looks like. Deep in space, human ships that had looked like simple cargo vessels began to change. Their hulls opened to reveal massive weapons. Their engines flared to life with power that broke the known laws of physics. Colonies that had seemed like peaceful farming worlds activated defense systems that could destroy entire fleets. Across the galaxy, the Vorthan Empire was about to discover that humans had never been weak. They had simply chosen to be kind. But kindness, like everything else humans did, could be turned on and off at will. The war was about to begin, and the Vorthans had no idea what they had awakened. Captain Dongwu Lee sat in his command chair, looking at the stars ahead. His ship floated alone at the edge of Vorthon space. To anyone watching, it looked like a small patrol vessel that had gotten lost. The Vorthan fleet was coming toward him, and he could see their massive ships on his screens. One human ship, laughed Gorthak, the Vorthan fleet admiral. His voice came through the communication system full of amusement. This is how the mighty humans respond to our ultimatum? One tiny ship? Gorthak's flagship was 10 times larger than Dongwu's vessel. Behind it came dozens of other Vorthan warships, their hulls covered with weapons and armor. They moved slowly toward the human ship, expecting an easy victory. "Human captain," Gorthak said, "surrender now and we will make your death quick." Dongwu smiled and pressed a button on his control panel. "I have a better idea." His ship began to change. The outer hull split apart and folded back, revealing the true vessel underneath. Weapons that had been hidden inside the walls emerged and locked onto the Vorthan fleet. The ship's energy readings jumped so high that the Vorthan sensors couldn't measure them properly. "What is that?" Gorthak shouted, but his question was answered when Dongwu's ship fired its first shot. The weapon didn't look like much. A beam of blue light that reached out and touched Gorthak's flagship, but when it hit, something strange happened. The Vorthan ship didn't explode. Instead, it began to change. The metal hull started to twist and bend. The weapons turned to point at other Vorthan ships. The engines shut down completely. "My ship is not responding," Gorthak said, his voice now full of fear. "The controls won't work." "That's because your ship belongs to me now," Dongwu replied calmly. "The conversion beam rewrote your computer systems. Your weapons, your engines, your life support. All mine." Across the galaxy, similar scenes were happening at the same time. Human ships that had looked weak and harmless were revealing their true nature. Agricultural platforms that had grown food for centuries opened up to show massive cannons. Research stations powered up weapons that could destroy entire star systems. Civilian transports dropped their disguises and became warships. On the Vorthan homeworld, Admiral Gorthak's brother, war leader Cathara, watched the reports coming in. Every single human ship was far more advanced than their intelligence had suggested. Worse, the humans seemed to know exactly where every Vorthan fleet was located. "How are they tracking us?" she asked her advisors. "Unknown, war leader. Our ships are using maximum stealth." What Cathara didn't know was that humans had been watching the Vorthans for decades. Every Vorthan ship had been secretly tagged with tracking devices so small they couldn't be detected. Every Vorthan communication had been intercepted and decoded. The humans knew where every Vorthan ship was at all times. Dr. Yejin Park sat in her control room deep under Earth, coordinating the human response. Screens around her showed battles happening across hundreds of star systems. But these weren't normal battles, psychological. "Warfare protocols are active," she reported to Admiral Hansol Kim. "We're broadcasting the screams of dying Vorthan ships across their communication networks." This was part of Project Phoenix. The humans weren't just trying to win battles. They were trying to break the Vorthan will to fight. Every time a Vorthan ship was destroyed, the death cries of its crew were transmitted to every other Vorthan vessel in the galaxy. "How are our people performing?" Hansol asked. "Better than expected. Captain Lee just captured an entire Vorthan battle group without destroying a single ship." Back in space, Dongwu was indeed capturing ships rather than destroying them. His weapons didn't just damage enemy vessels. They took control of them. Within minutes, the entire Vorthan fleet was following his orders. "Gorthak," he said into his communication system, "you are now my prisoner. Your ships are now my ships. Your crews are now working for me." "This is impossible," Gorthak replied. "No species has technology like this." "You're right," Dongwu said. "No other species does. But humans aren't like other species." He pressed another button and Gorthak's ship began to move under human control. The proud Vorthan admiral watched helplessly as his own weapons turned to fire on other Vorthan fleets in the area. The Battle of Kepler 442 lasted exactly 3 hours and 17 minutes. When it was over, the Vorthans had lost 847 ships. The humans had lost nothing. Not one human ship was even damaged. Similar results came in from every other battle. At Proxima Centauri, 200 Vorthan ships were converted to human control in under an hour. At Wolf 359, an entire Vorthan invasion force surrendered without firing a shot after watching what had happened to their comrades. "The psychological impact is working perfectly," Dr. Park reported. "Vorthan military communications are full of panic and confusion." "They're calling us demons and monsters," Hansol nodded. This was exactly what Project Phoenix was designed to do. It wasn't enough to just defeat the enemy. You had to break their spirit so completely that they would never think of fighting again. "What about our allies?" he asked. "They're terrified of us now," Dr. Park said honestly. "The Galactic Council is in emergency session. They're trying to decide whether to offer us anything we want to stay peaceful. This too was part of the plan. The humans wanted every species in the galaxy to understand that human peace was a choice, not a weakness. When humans chose to be peaceful, it was because they were strong enough to make that choice. Captain Dong Wu received new orders from Admiral Kim. Captain, proceed to the Vorthan home system. Time to end this. Yes, sir. His ship, now leading a fleet of captured Vorthan vessels, jumped to faster-than-light speed. But this wasn't normal FTL travel. The ship moved so fast that it seemed to appear instantly at its destination. The Vorthan defenders around their homeworld barely had time to react before Dongwu's fleet was among them. Attention Vorthan High Command, Dongwu broadcast to the planet below. This is Captain Lee of the Terran Navy. You have 48 hours to surrender completely, or we will begin the final phase of our response. On the planet's surface, Cathara looked up at the sky where human ships now blocked out the stars. She had spent her entire life studying warfare, but she had never seen anything like this. War leader, one of her officers said quietly. What are your orders? Cathara was silent for a long time. Finally, she said, send a message to all Vorthan fleets. Tell them to stop fighting immediately. A retreat, war leader? No, she said sadly. A surrender. We have awakened something that we cannot fight. The humans aren't just better warriors than us. They're better at everything. She looked at the reports from the battles. In every case, the humans had won without losing a single ship or even one crew member. They fought with a precision and efficiency that seemed impossible. Send another message, she said, to the human captain. Tell him we wish to discuss terms of surrender. High above, Dongwu received the message and smiled. Project Phoenix was working exactly as designed. The Vorthans were broken not by destruction, but by the simple realization that they could never win. Dr. Park, he said into his communication system. The Vorthans want to surrender, already, came the reply from Earth. It's only been 72 hours. Apparently, that was enough. But Admiral Kim's voice came through the communication system with a different message. Captain Lee, do not accept their surrender yet. We have one more demonstration to give them, something to ensure this never happens again. Dongwu felt a chill run down his spine. Sir, activate Terminus Protocol, Captain. It's time to show the galaxy what true peace looks like. Admiral Hansol Kim stood in the Great Hall of Luna Station. The walls were made of clear crystal that showed the stars beyond. He watched as alien faces appeared on the big screen in front of him. Diplomats from many worlds had come to see this meeting. Something important was about to happen. The Vorthan ambassador stepped forward on the screen. He was tall and covered in hard shell-like armor. His 6 eyes looked down at the humans with disgust. Behind him stood more Vorthans, all carrying weapons and wearing the red symbols of their empire. Humans, the Vorthan said. His voice was cold and harsh. You have lived in peace for too long. 3,000 years without war has made you weak. You spend your time making art and studying stars. You have forgotten how to fight. Hansol kept his face calm. Around him, other humans listened quietly. The diplomats from other alien races looked worried. They whispered to each other about what might happen next. The Vorthan Empire has decided, the alien continued. All human worlds now belong to us. Your ships will surrender. Your colonies will bow to Vorthan rule. You have 7 days to give up everything or we will destroy every human world in the galaxy. The hall became very quiet. Hansol could hear his own breathing. He had been an admiral for 30 years, but he had never fought in a real war. None of the humans alive today had. For 3,000 years, humans had lived in peace with all other races. Dr. Yejin Park stepped closer to Hansol. She was a small woman who worked in the archives under Earth. Most people thought she just read old books all day. But Hansol knew better. He had worked with her before on special projects. Admiral, she whispered, should we open the old files? Hansol looked at the Vorthan on the screen. The alien was smiling, showing sharp teeth. He thought humans would be scared. He thought they would beg for mercy or try to make a deal. Instead, Hansol smiled back. It was a cold smile that made even the friendly aliens in the room step away from him. The temperature in the hall seemed to drop. 7 days? Hansol asked. His voice was quiet, but everyone could hear him clearly. That is very kind of you. We will have our answer ready in 3 days. The Vorthan looked confused. This was not the reaction he expected. You do not understand, human. We have 10,000 warships. We have weapons that can crack planets in half. Your people build gardens and write poems. You cannot fight us. Hansol's smile grew wider. Dr. Park, he said without looking away from the screen. I think it is time to remind our friends here why humans chose peace. What we chose peace instead of, Dr. Park added quietly. Captain Dongwoo Lee stood near the back of the room. He was young for a ship captain, only 35 years old. He had never seen real combat, only training exercises and patrols against small pirates. He watched Hansol with growing confusion. Admiral, Dongwoo said after the transmission ended. What did you mean? What files is Dr. Park talking about? Hansol turned to face the younger man. His eyes were hard like old steel. Captain Lee, how long have humans been at peace? 3,000 years, sir, since the Great Peace Accord. And before that? Dongwoo thought for a moment. The history books say humans fought many wars. But that was long ago. We learned to be better. Dr. Park laughed, but it was not a happy sound. Captain, we did not learn to be better. We learned to be perfect. Perfect at what? Dongwoo asked. At war, Hansol answered. We became so good at killing that we scared ourselves. So we stopped. The room began to empty as diplomats rushed to contact their home worlds. The news would spread quickly through the galaxy. War was coming, and everyone wanted to be ready. Hansol walked to the big window that showed Earth below. The blue and green planet looked peaceful. Cities sparkled like jewels across the continents. Ships moved slowly between the orbital stations. Everything looked calm and beautiful. Dr. Park, he said, send the activation codes to Geneva base. Tell them to open Vault 7. All of it, sir? Everything. And contact the other admirals. Tell them Code Phoenix is now active. Dr. Park nodded and left the room quickly. Hansol and Dongwoo were alone now. Sir, Dongwoo said, I don't understand. We don't have enough ships to fight the Vorthons. Our fleet is designed for exploration and trade, not war. Hansol looked at the young captain. Dongwoo, what do you know about your family history? Not much, sir. My great-grandmother was in the military, but that was during the peacetime. Her name was Sumin Lee. She was a commander during the last days of the old wars. She helped design something called the Silent Death Protocols. Dongwoo felt cold suddenly. What were those? Ways to kill entire fleets without making any noise. Ways to make enemy soldiers forget how to fight. Ways to turn their own weapons against them. Hansol put his hand on the window. Your great-grandmother was very good at her job. Far below them, under the surface of Earth, old machines began to wake up. Lights that had been dark for thousands of years started to glow. Computer systems that had been sleeping began to run again. In deep vaults that most humans had forgotten about, weapons waited patiently for their orders. The Vorthons think we are weak because we build art instead of guns, Hansol said. They think peace means we cannot fight. They are wrong about both things. What do you mean? Hansol smiled his cold smile again. We never stopped building weapons, Dongwoo. We just got very good at hiding them. Every research station has secrets. Every mining colony has surprises. Every cargo ship has teeth. On the communication screen, a message appeared. It was from Dr. Park in the Geneva base. Vault 7 is open, Admiral. All systems are active. Phoenix protocols are ready. Hansol nodded. Captain Lee, you have new orders. Report to Dock 17. Your ship has been upgraded. Upgraded how, sir? You will see. And Captain, when you see what your ship can really do, remember this. We chose to be peaceful. We chose to build instead of destroy. We chose to help instead of hurt. But some things you never forget how to do. Dongwoo saluted and left the room. Hansol stayed by the window looking down at Earth. Somewhere out there, the Vorthons were preparing their fleets for what they thought would be an easy victory. They were about to learn that humans had not forgotten anything at all. War leader Kithara sat in the deepest archives of the Vorthon military headquarters. Around her, ancient files and records covered every surface. She had been searching for 3 days trying to find anything that could help her people fight the humans. Instead, she was finding things that made her blood run cold. War leader, her assistant said nervously. Perhaps we should focus on current battle plans instead of old history. Kithara looked up from a file she was reading. Her hands were shaking. Do you know what happened to the Altaran Empire? Of course. They vanished 3,000 years ago. Some kind of plague, the records say. No, Kithara said quietly. They fought humans. 47 worlds, 12 billion people. 6 months after they declared war on humanity, there was nothing left. No ships, no cities, no people, nothing. She opened another file. The crystalline hegemony. 200 worlds spanning 3 sectors of the galaxy. They tried to enslave human colonies. What happened to them? They all committed suicide. Every single member of their species, at exactly the same time. The records say they killed themselves rather than face what the humans were going to do to them. Her assistant looked confused. That makes no sense. Why would an entire species choose death? Kethara showed him the file. It contained reports from other alien races who had investigated the crystalline worlds after the mass suicide. The reports described cities full of dead beings, but no signs of damage or attack. No human ships had been seen in the area, yet somehow an entire civilization had chosen to end itself. There are more, Kethara continued, the Void Whisperers. They were energy beings who thought they were beyond physical harm. The humans found a way to kill them anyway, not just their bodies but their very existence. They no longer exist in any form that can be understood. She pulled out another set of files. The Devourer swarms. They consumed entire star systems for food. The humans fought them for 3 weeks and then nothing. The swarms just stopped existing. The humans called it a police action. Her assistant sat down heavily. How many species did the humans fight? In 2,000 years of expansion, hundreds. Some were small conflicts that lasted days. Others were major wars that took years. But the humans won every single one. But they've been peaceful for 3,000 years. Maybe they've forgotten how to fight. Kithara laughed, but there was no humor in it. That's what we thought too. That's what everyone thinks. But look at this. She showed him recent intelligence reports about human space. Every report said the same thing. Humans spent their time on art, science, and philosophy. Their ships were designed for exploration and trade. Their colonies focused on agriculture and research. But if that's true, her assistant said, how are they defeating our fleet so easily? Because it's all a lie, Kethara said. Or rather, it's only part of the truth. She activated a communication screen and called up a recording from one of their surviving ship captains. The captain looked terrified as he spoke. War leader, the human ship didn't just defeat us. It took control of our vessels. Our own weapons turned against us. Our computer systems were rewritten in seconds. Technology like this shouldn't exist. Kithara turned off the recording. The humans never stopped being warriors. They just got very good at hiding it. Meanwhile, Captain Dong-Woo Lee was learning the same truth from the other side. Admiral Han-Sol Kim had called him to a secure communication channel to explain what Terminus Protocol really meant. Captain, Han-Sol said, what you've seen so far is just the beginning. The weapons, the ship conversions, the psychological warfare, those are simple tools compared to what we're about to deploy. What do you mean, sir? Dr. Yejin Park appeared on the screen next to Han-Sol. Captain, do you know why humans really stopped fighting 3,000 years ago? Because we got too good at it. More than that. We reached a point where we could do more than just defeat enemies. We could change them. She showed him files from the deepest archives. The last war before the peace accord was against a species called the Harmony Builders. They were peaceful beings who just wanted to live quietly on their worlds. But they happened to be sitting on resources we needed. What did we do? We didn't kill them, Dr. Park explained. Instead, we changed them. We used advanced technology to alter their brain chemistry. We made them want to give us what we needed. They handed over their worlds willingly and thanked us for taking them. Dong-Woo felt sick. We rewrote their minds completely. And we got so good at it that we could do it to entire species at once. Billions of people all changed to think exactly what we wanted them to think. Han-Sol took over the explanation. That's when our leaders realized we had gone too far. We weren't just winning wars anymore. We were editing reality itself. So they made the peace accord and sealed away all of this technology. Until now? The Vorthons have forced us to remember who we really are. Back on the Vorthon homeworld, Kethara was making the same horrifying discovery. She found records from species that had survived contact with ancient humanity. All of them told the same story. Humans didn't just conquer other species. They improved them. They would take aggressive, warlike races and make them peaceful, she read from one report. Not through force or threats, but by actually changing their minds. The affected species would genuinely believe that peace was better than war. They would thank the humans for showing them a better way. Her assistant looked confused. But that sounds like a good thing, is it? Kethara asked. If someone changes your mind without your permission, are your thoughts still your own? If you're happy because someone made you happy, is that real happiness? She found more files. records of human technology that could rewrite memories, change personalities, and alter the basic drives that motivated entire civilizations. The humans had become so advanced that they could edit the minds of billions of people at once, across multiple star systems. No wonder they stopped fighting, she whispered. They had become gods. A new communication came in from their ships around the human fleet. The human captain was broadcasting a message to the entire Vorthan home system. People of the Vorthan Empire, Captain Lee's voice said, your leaders have forced us to use tools we hoped never to use again. In 1 hour, we will begin Terminus Protocol. This will not hurt you physically, but when it is finished, you will understand why war is no longer an option for your species. Kithara grabbed her communication device. This is War Leader Kithara to the human fleet. We surrender completely. Please don't use your Terminus Protocol. I'm sorry, came Captain Lee's reply, but surrender is no longer enough. The galaxy needs to see what happens when someone declares war on humanity. This lesson must be permanent. Kithara looked around at her officers. They all understood what was about to happen. The humans were going to change them, just like they had changed hundreds of other species long ago. Will it hurt? One of her soldiers asked. No, Kithara said sadly. That's the worst part. When it's over, we'll be grateful for what they've done to us. We'll actually believe it was for our own good. She sat down and waited for the end of everything she had ever believed in. Soon the Vorthans would no longer be warriors. They would be something else entirely, shaped by human will into forms that humans found acceptable. The most terrifying part was that they would thank the humans for it. High above, Captain Dongwu Li prepared to push the button that would activate Terminus Protocol. His hands shook as he thought about what he was about to do. Admiral, he said into his communication system, are we sure this is right? No, Captain, Han Sol replied honestly. But it's necessary. The galaxy must learn that human peace is not weakness. It's mercy. And mercy, like everything else, has limits. Dongwu closed his eyes and pressed the button.